What is up, gorgeous people? Elena is in the house. You've definitely seen those clitch-feed time travel novels. A modern-day female protagonist falls into ancient times, and just by reciting a few poems by Li Bai or Sushi and making some crappy soap, she can have all the big shots in the capital completely mesmerized. But wait, what if this original wife is a max-level royal boss who commands thousands of troops and has wealth rivaling a nation? Grab your popcorn, come watch with me how this Princess Jiahua uses money and imperial power to ruthlessly grind them into the ground. Let's go. My consort, Shen Jingzhou, the heir of the Duke's manor, brought back a woman with strange behavior from outside. That woman wore bizarre clothing, and upon seeing me, the eldest legitimate princess of the current dynasty, not only did she not kneel, but she straightened her back instead. In her eyes were nothing but pity and disdain. You're the mistress of this Duke's manor. How pathetic, trapped in the inner quarters your whole life, entangled with a man who doesn't love you. She called herself Lin Jiaojiao, holding her head high as she began preaching her principles to me. In my world, everyone is equal. The heir and I are truly in love. Real love doesn't care who came first. The one who isn't loved is the third party. I came here today to clean up this rotten Duke's manor. If you know what is good for you, divorce him voluntarily, and I can still have the heir leave you some dignity. The consort stood in front of her, in a protective stance. In his eyes were 3 parts guilt, 7 parts emotion. Princess Jiao Jiao has a straightforward personality and doesn't understand worldly etiquette, but she understands me. Hearing these shocking and outrageous remarks, the nanny behind me trembled with rage and drew out the palace disciplinary ruler. But I smiled. I picked up the Celadon teacup, skimmed off the floating tea leaves, without even glancing at them. Doesn't understand worldly etiquette. Guards. This unruly commoner shows contempt for the royal family and speaks insolently. According to the great Yan law, drag them out and give them 50 heavy strikes with the rod as a warning to others. Lin Jiaojiao shrieked. This is a lynching, you feudal evil villainess. What gives you the right to hit me? I slowly set down the teacup, looking at her face twisted with terror, as if watching a wildly barking sparrow. What gives me the right? Simply because I am the Jiahua princess of this great Yan dynasty. On the land of great Yan, me rules are the law, beat them. As soon as the words left my mouth, the 2 golden Jan armored guards behind me rushed forward. These were the Qianyu guards personally selected by my imperial father, who only answered to me alone. Shen Jingzhou turned pale with shock, spreading his arms to shield Lin Jiaojiao. Jiahua, you dare. Jiaojiao is my person. This is the Duke's manor. I didn't even lift an eyelid. Pull him away as well. Anyan, who dares to obstruct, will be charged with the same crime. The guards didn't hesitate, grabbing Shen Jingzhou by the collar and mercilessly throwing him hard to the ground. Shen Jingzhou, accustomed to a life of luxury and comfort, had never been treated so roughly before. He immediately let out a pained cry and fell to the ground in a pathetic heap. Lin Jiaojiao lost her protective shield and was completely exposed before the Fu soldiers. She finally began to panic. What are you doing? Let me go. I'm the daughter of destiny. Shen Jingzhou, salve me quickly, you feudal running dogs. The Fu soldiers paid no attention to her crazy ranting. One person pressed down on her shoulder, forcing her to kneel hard on the bluestone pavement. Another drew the authority rod forged from wrought iron from his waist. Without the slightest hesitation, without a shred of mercy. Aha! Lin Jiaojiao let out a heart-wrenching scream, her whole body curling up like a shrimp, cold sweat instantly soaking through her clothes. This wasn't the end yet. The punishment matron stepped forward, slapping from left and right, smack, smack. The resounding slap sounds echoed throughout the hall. Lin Jiaojiao's unyielding faces that she took such pride in instantly swelled up high, utterly pathetic. After 50 slaps, she didn't even have the strength left to scream, collapsing on the ground like a puddle of mud. Shen Jingzhou climbed up, and looking at the barely alive Lin Jiaojiao, his eyes blazed with fury. Jiahua, you venomous woman, you're jealous of Jiaojiao, so you resort to such vicious means. I sat on the rosewood-carved chair, looking down at him from above. Poisonous woman jealous. I am a noble princess of this nation, with my own fief estate and private army. Would I be jealous of an ignorant village woman who can't even speak properly? Shen Jingzhou, if your brain is broken, this palace can have the Imperial physician come examine you. I stroked the ruby on my armor, my voice cold as frost. She insulted the current princess. This palace punishing her is protecting the Great Yan's national prestige. You, as a subject of Great Yan, not only fail to uphold the royal family's dignity, but even shield a rebel. Do you believe that this palace can strip you of your heir apparent status right now and send you to the court of Imperial clan's prison? Shen Jingzhou trembled all over, the anger in his eyes instantly replaced by fear. Only then did he come to his senses. Sitting before him was not some dutiful and compliant matriarch of the Duke's mansion, but rather the great Yan dynasty's most noble, most domineering, most decisive and ruthless Princess Jiaohua. Lin Jiaojiao lay prostrate on the ground, her eyes still showing malice and unwillingness. You're bullying people with your power. What kind of skill is that? If you have the guts, let's compete fairly. I couldn't help but laugh softly, as if I'd heard the funniest joke in the world. Compete fairly. You, some lunatic, who popped out of nowhere, think you're worthy of talking about fair competition with this palace. I was born at the top of the clouds. You were born in the mud. Why should I lower myself to play fair with you? I stood up, me red palace gown trailing on the ground like burning hellfire. I walked up to her and lifted her chin with the tip of my embroidered shoe inlaid with oriental pearls. You just said you wanted to reorganize the Duke's manor. Fine, I'll give you that chance. Someone lock these two in the woodshed. Without my order, no one is allowed to bring them water or food. I'd like to see if you two lovebirds can survive by drinking the northwest wind. The door to the woodshed was locked shut with a heavy thud. Everyone in the Duke's manor was silent as cicadas in winter, not even daring to breathe loudly. The Duke and the Duchess, having heard the commotion, hurried over, seeing the mess all over the floor. The Duchess's legs went weak and she nearly fainted. Princess, Joa was foolish. Please show mercy and spare him this once. The Duke also knelt on the ground, tears streaming down his old face. I sat back in the main seat, picked up the newly served premium Da Hong Pao tea, and took a light sip. Please rise, elders. How could I be the kind of person who is unreasonable? It is just that the heir apparent really doesn't understand the rules. I'm teaching him a lesson on your behalf. The Duke kowtowed repeatedly. The princess is right to reprimand him. This old subject failed to teach his son properly. Why are they so afraid of me? Because the Duke's manor had long been nothing but an empty shell. If I hadn't been so blind back then, falling for Shen Jingzhou's pretty face and marrying down into this run-down household. The Duke's manor couldn't even afford the repair costs for this estate. Now every blade of grass and tree in this manor, all the food, clothing, and expenses, everything comes from my Princess Manor's silver. How dare they turn against me? I left that pair of star-crossed lovebirds in the firewood shed for a full 3 days. 3 days later, I had them brought to the front courtyard. Shen Jingzhou was so starved, his eyes were sunken deep, his beard unkempt. Where was that refined young gentleman of yesteryear? Lin Jiaojiao looked even more wretched. Her wounds left untreated, giving off waves of foul odour. When she saw me, the arrogance in her eyes was finally worn down by half with fear. But I knew she still refused to submit in her heart. Jiaohua, you've won. Lin Jiaojiao's voice was barely a whisper. Yet she was still putting on a tough front. But all you've got is his body. You'll never have his heart. Spiritually, I am 10,000 times nobler than you. I'm an independent woman. I'm not like you, someone who can only depend on a patriarchal society. Oh my gosh, the audacity of this girl. She calls herself an independent woman, while righteously shouting, everyone is equal. She shamelessly wrecks other people's marriages, and even has the nerve to eat rice bought with the legitimate wife princess's money. This is top-tier hypocrisy. A truly independent woman relies on her own hands to make her way, not on being a homewrecker to promote her so-called noble ideology. The princess's upcoming verbal smackdown is absolutely our perfect mouthpiece. I almost want to applaud her shamelessness. Independent woman. I slowly walked up to her, my gaze utterly contemptuous. You keep saying everyone is equal. So why is it that when you see me, you won't even use a respectful form of address, and only dare to refer to me as you? Is your so called equality that you don't need to respect others, but others must comply with you? Lin Jiao gritted her teeth. Everyone is equal, no distinction of rank. I let out a cold laugh. What a fine no distinction of rank. Then why are you clinging to Shen Jingzhou? If you're so independent, why don't you go find some equally equal peddler or labourer and live a life of farming and weaving together? You know full well that Shen Jingzhou is my consort, a married man yet. You still come to seduce him. You enjoy the privileges that come with his status as the heir, eating the rice that I bought with my own money, while cursing me out as feudal trash. I stared down at her from above, each word cutting to the heart. You call this independence? In my view, you've just given shamelessness a nicer name, that is all. What is the difference between you and those scoundrels in the marketplace who scheme to swindle money from men? Oh wait, I'm wrong. At least they own up to what they do. But you want to be a homewrecker and erect a chastity monument for yourself. My words were like sharp blades shredding Lin Jiao's thin veil of decency to pieces. Her face flushed bright red, her lips trembling, unable to utter a single word for the longest time. Yet Shen Jingzhou still wanted to protect her. Princess, how can you humiliate Jiao like this? She is a woman of great talent. Great talent. I felt like I was hearing some kind of fairy tale. Shen Jingzhou, since you're so confident in her talent, I'll let you see what it means to bring humiliation upon oneself. To kill some boring time, I ordered a flower jam viewing banquet to be held at the princess's manor. It was actually a public exposure party. I invited the most renowned great scholars of the court, grand academicians from the Hanlin Academy, as well as all the noble ladies from the capital. Lin Jiao was carried by 2 old servants and thrown into the center of the banquet. Although she was in a disheveled state, when she heard it was a competition of literary talent, a light called confidence actually flickered in her eyes again. In her perception, she had 5,000 years of Chinese Tang poetry and song lyrics backing her up. Any random one she pulled out could easily crush us ancient people. Shen Jingzhou encouraged her from the side. Jiao, don't be afraid. Let them witness your earth Jan shattering. Ghost Jan wailing masterpiece prelude to water melody. Lin Jiao cleared her throat, forcibly enduring the pain, and put on an air of aloof superiority, as if standing alone beyond the world. When will the bright moon appear? I raise my cup to ask the blue sky. I wonder what year it is tonight in the heavenly palace. I only wish we could live long sharing the beauty of the moon across 1,000 miles. After finishing the recitation, the entire venue fell silent. Shen Jingzhou's face was full of pride, as if he had composed this poem himself. Lin Jiao looked at me even more smugly, as if waiting for me to bow my head in defeat. But I burst out laughing instead. Good poem, truly a good poem, profound in artistic conception, broad and minded and transcendent. Lin Jiao raised her chin even higher. Of course. I put away my smile and looked at her with piercing eyes. Since you composed this poem, this palace will test you. The first stanza of this poem, which philosophical concept from the ancient sages does it draw upon? And what kind of philosophical contemplation does the second stanza contain? Lin Jiao froze. She opened her mouth, and after a long while managed to squeeze out. I just looked at the moon and came up with it. The entire venue immediately erupted in roaring laughter. Grand Scholar Wang from the Hanlin Academy stood up, his greying beard trembling with anger. Preposterous. This is utterly absurd. This poem has a grand and magnificent atmosphere. It cannot be written by anyone other than someone with great depth of character, who has experienced the ups and downs of officialdom and witnessed the vicissitudes of the world. You're just a young girl who has never set foot in the Imperial court, never experienced the pain of parting through life and death. How could you possibly write the desolation of the heights are unbearably cold? And how could you write the open zen-mindedness of this matter has rarely been perfect since ancient times? Let me ask you in your poem, what does jade towers and palatial halls refer to? And what rhyme scheme is used in dancing and playing with my clear shadow? Lin Jiao Jiao was sweating profusely, her eyes darting around evasively. She could only recite it. How would she understand tonal patterns and rhyme schemes, or any historical context? This is free verse. Right, free verse. I don't need the rules of you pedantic scholars, she began arguing unreasonably. Another hot-tempered scholar directly smashed his teacup on the ground. Nonsense. This poem has rigorous meter, every word a pearl. It is clearly the work of a master. You ignorant peasant woman, you dare to steal the work of ancient sages and have the audacity to claim it as your own. This is an absolute disgrace to literature, utterly shameless. Faced with the relentless questioning and scathing rebukes, filled with classical references from the court's great scholars, Lin Jiao completely broke down. Her prized golden finger was like a bubble that burst at the slightest touch when faced with real scholarship. Not only did she fail to become the celebrated, talented woman she envisioned, but she became a thief who stole others' achievements. A laughingstock who couldn't recognize a single character. Shen Jingzhou's face alternated between shades of green and white. He looked at Lin Jiao's embarrassing state of being unable to respond and babbling nonsense, and the light in his eyes began to shatter. I raised my wine cup and toasted Lin Jiao from afar. Miss Lin, this palace has truly witnessed your great talent today. Nothing but an empty shell who plagiarized a few lines of poetry from who knows where. And with just this, you dare say you're noble. With her path to becoming a talented woman blocked, Lin Jiao didn't give up. In her transmigrator's logic, if liberal arts didn't work, there was always science. She wanted to build an empire in commerce, to use economic leverage to threaten me. Jiahua, don't get too smug. She lay on the ground, glaring at me viciously. I refuse to believe that I, a modern person, can't beat you, a parasite of feudal society. I'm going into business. I'll show you what a real dimensional reduction strike is. I watched her with great interest. Oh, what business do you plan to do? This palace awaits with anticipation. A few days later, through Shen Jingzhou's maneuvering, Lin Jiao took over a small workshop in the capital. She started mysteriously tinkering with something called soap and glass. She made grand promises to Shen Jingzhou. Zhou Lang, once my soap and glass are made, we'll be the richest in Great Yan. When that time comes, we'll use our money to crush that high and mighty princess and buy up the entire duke's manor. Shen Jingzhou believed her words without a doubt, and even secretly pawned off the few remaining heirlooms from the duke's manor to gather capital for her. Half a month later, Lin Jiao finally came to show off to me, dishevelled and holding several yellow chunks of matter and a few pieces of cloudy glass full of impurities, looking triumphant. Jiahua, see this. This is called soap. It can wash away all dirt. This is called glass. It lets in 100 times more light than your paper windows. If you beg me now, I might still give you a little share. I can't breathe. She is using pig fat mixed with plant ash to make crude soap, and trying to compare it with the Imperial Treasury's 100 flowers, condensed dew. Bath beans are fined through hundreds of processes. That is like taking a plastic toy and telling people, look, a Rolls Royce. Girl read a history book. Ancient Chinese glass-making craftsmanship started as early as the Western Zhou dynasty, the luxury goods of the royal family. How could they compare to this half-baked handicraft workshop? This is exactly why I don't like those dumbed-down transmigration stories. The wisdom of ancient people actually far exceeds our imagination. If you want to play business wars in ancient times, relying on a middle school chemistry textbook is absolutely not enough. Looking at those defective products in her hands, I finally couldn't help but cover my lips and burst out laughing. I laughed so hard tears almost came out. Saman, take her for a tour of the inner treasury. I instructed the lady official beside me. The lady official, suppressing her laughter, led Lin Jiao to my private storeroom. When the doors of the inner treasury opened, the smile on Lin Jiao's face instantly froze. Inside the storeroom, it was filled with colourful crystal, clear glazed vessels. These glazed wares were exquisitely crafted with stunning designs, countless levels superior to her murky glass, and on the other side, neatly arranged rows of delicate jade brocade boxes. The lady official opened one of the brocade boxes, and an elegant jasmine fragrance wafted out. Inside, there were bath beans with a lustrous jade jan-like colour, carved with floral patterns. "Miss Lin," the female official said coldly, "that thing in your hand is made from lard and wood ash, isn't it?" Even the rough servant girls in the lower courtyard of our princess's manor wouldn't use something with such crude quality. The soap our princess uses is made by the Imperial Household Department, gathering the essence of 100 flowers, pearl powder, and premium plant oils, refined through 40 Gen 9 processes over 7 times 7 days. As for the glass you mentioned, that is called glazed crystal. The Great Yan dynasty has been skillfully producing it for 300 years already. It is just that because glazed crystal is fragile and doesn't retain heat as well as window paper, it hasn't been widely used for windows. You're showing off these inferior products that were phased out hundreds of years ago in front of our princess. Lin Jiao's hand loosened, and with a thud, the soap she had painstakingly boiled fell to the ground, breaking into 2 halves. Her worldview completely collapsed at this moment. Impossible, this can't be. That is not how it is written in the storybooks. How could ancient people be this smart? This is impossible. She clutched her hair like someone gone mad and started screaming. I slowly walked up behind her. "Lin Jiao, do you think that just because you know a few trivial tricks, you're smarter than us? Your greatest stupidity is treating us like fools. You only know some superficial knowledge, but you don't realize that these things have already been developed to perfection through thousands of years of inheritance. So you want to play business warfare, huh?" I snapped my fingers. "Pass down this palace's order. From today onwards, all saltpeter, soda ash, hand grease in the capital are forbidden to be sold to Lin Jiao's workshop. Any shop in the capital that dares to sell Lin Jiao's goods will be considered an enemy of the princess's residence." I looked at her terrified eyes and smiled slightly. This is what you call a dimensional reduction strike. In the face of absolute power, your little tricks don't even count as a gust of wind. Her commercial empire dream shattered. Lin Jiao's workshop quickly went bankrupt because it had no raw materials and couldn't sell anything. Not only that, she also ended up with a huge debt. Debt collectors blocked the entrance of the Duke's residence every day, demanding money. The Duke's residence had completely lost face. The Duke finally couldn't sit still anymore. He came to my main courtyard leaning on his cane, fuming with anger. "Princess, you're trying to force our entire family to death. Even if Jingzhou has 1,000 faults, he is still your husband. How can you collude with outsiders to target the person he brought back? Where does this leave the face of our Duke's residence?" The Duke's wife also chimed in tearfully. "Princess, a married woman follows her husband. Even though you're of noble birth, you must still observe the 3 obediences and 4 virtues. Although Jiao comes from a humble background, she might already be carrying Zhou's child in her belly. Aren't you afraid of being ridiculed by all under heaven for being so domineering?" What a fine case of blame and shifting. I looked at this pair of stubborn old fossils, really not knowing where they got the nerve to lecture me. "Hongshu, bring the account books." I couldn't be bothered to waste words with them. The lady official Hongshu slammed a thick stack of account books onto the tea table in front of the Duke with a bang. "Duke, madam, take a good look." I pointed at those account books. In the 3rd year of Xuanhe, the main courtyard of the Duke's manor leaked. Repairs cost 3,000 taels of silver, paid from the princess's manor accounts. In the 4th year of Xuanhe, the heir pulled strings to secure a position as Vice Minister of Personnel, bribery fees of 20,000 taels of silver, paid from the princess's manor accounts. Just last month you held a 60th birthday celebration, set up banquets for 3 days straight, cost 5,000 taels of silver, still paid by this palace. The more I spoke, the colder my voice became, each word like iron. This entire Duke's manor, top to bottom, over 100 mouths to feed. They eat this palace's food, wear this palace's clothes. Even your title of Duke, if this palace hadn't pleaded with Father Emperor on your behalf, would have been stripped away long ago. You pick up your bowls to eat, put down your bowls and still criticize this palace. Now you dare to talk to this palace about the 3 obediences and 4 virtues. I slammed the table hard, making the teacups clang and rattle. Are you worthy? The Duke and the Duchess were so frightened by my thunderous fury that they trembled all over. Their legs went weak, and both fell to their knees. They looked at those clear and detailed accounts, their faces deathly pale, unable to utter a single word. They got so used to how I indulged Shen Jingzhou in the past that they actually thought they were some untouchable nobility. They forgot that without me, they're nothing. Shen Jingzhou also rushed in at this moment. Seeing his parents kneeling on the ground, he immediately jumped up. Zhao Hua, you've gone too far. If you're angry, take it out on me. What kind of skill is it to humiliate your elders? I know you're jealous of Zhou Jiao, but you can't use money to insult our integrity. Love is priceless. A woman like you, reeking of money, doesn't understand what true love is at all. Looking at Shen Jingzhou's self-gen righteous face, I only felt a wave of disgust. Good, very good. Since you think money reeks and true love is priceless, then I will fulfill your noble soul. I stood up and walked toward the desk. I picked up the writing brush, dipping it fully in thick ink on the snow-white rice paper. My brush danced like dragons and snakes, writing 2 large characters, divorce letter. Shen Jingzhou, you listen carefully. Today, I'm not divorcing you by mutual consent. I'm divorcing you. As soon as these words came out, the entire room fell deathly silent. Shen Jingzhou's eyes widened, as if he'd heard something unbelievable. What did you say? You're divorcing me? In the Great Yan dynasty, it had always been men divorcing women. When had there ever been a woman divorcing a man? This was simply trampling his dignity under her feet and grinding it back and forth. That is right, I'm divorcing my husband. I flung the divorce papers at his side. First charge, acting absurdly. This is unrighteousness. Second charge, colluding with outsiders to embezzle the Princess Manna's assets. This is unbenevolence. Third charge, defying the princess and disrespecting the royal family. This is disloyalty. A disloyal, unrighteous, and unbenevolent scoundrel, Dan. Does he deserve to be this palace's consort? Shen Jingzhou picked up the divorce papers with trembling hands, his face alternating between pale and flushed. Lin Zhaojiao, however, crawled out from who knows where, seeing the divorce papers. Not only was she not upset, but she was overjoyed. Zhou Lang, this is wonderful. You're finally free. We can finally be together for life. Just the 2 of us. Without that evil woman meddling between us, we'll definitely be able to create our own business empire. She was still living in her own dream, thinking that without me, Shen Jingzhou would be that tall, mighty, and omnipotent Prince Charming. Shen Jingzhou looked at Lin Zhaojiao's eyes, full of expectation, and his pitiful self-esteem swelled up again. He puffed out his chest, putting on an act as if he regarded money as dirt. Fine divorce it is. Zhao Hua, don't think that having power means you can control everything. Shen Jingzhou have hands and feet. Even without relying on you, I can still give Zhao Jiao a good life. Let's go. As he spoke, he reached to grab Lin Zhaojiao's hand, ready to stage a poignant love drama. Stop right there. I coldly called out to stop them. Did this palace give you permission to leave? Shen Jingzhou turned his head, his face full of vigilance. What else do you want? I've already accepted the divorce letter. We have no relationship anymore. I laughed contemptuously. No relationship. Then let's settle the accounts. Hongshu read it. The female official Hongshu immediately opened the account book and read aloud. This mansion was bestowed by the late emperor as part of the princess's dowry when she married. The gold, silver, jade, artifacts, antiques, and paintings in the residence are all part of the princess's dowry. Since the heir apparent has been divorced, everything in this mansion belongs to the princess. Shen Jingzhou and Lin Zhaojiao were stunned. The Duke and the Duchess let out wails. Princess, this cannot be. This is the Duke's residence's reputation. I looked at them coldly. That is your problem. Since Shen Jingzhou has hands and feet and can give Lin Zhaojiao a good life, why should he stay in this palace's mansion? Guards throw their entire family, along with this unreasonable woman, out of the residence. Except for the clothes they're wearing, they are not allowed to take a single thread from this residence. The Imperial family's actions were swifter than thunder. My guards entered like wolves among sheep, driving away all the servants of the Duke's residence. The Duke, the Duchess, Shen Jingzhou, and the injured Lin Jiaojiao were thrown out onto the street, like discarded trash. The onlooking common people pointed and whispered, "Isn't that the Duke? How did he get thrown out?" You don't know yet? The heir is going to divorce the eldest princess for some woman of unknown origin. Bah, he is truly blinded by lust. Without the eldest princess, what is he? The curses of the common people surged like a tide. Lin Jiaojiao covered her face, trying to use her equality for all theory to argue back. You ignorant ancient people. We are true love. Is it wrong to pursue true love? However, what greeted her were several rotten vegetable leaves. True love. Destroying the princess's marriage is called true love, shameless woman. Lin Jiaojiao was pelted with bumps all over her head, finally shut her mouth, and trembled as she hid in Shen Jingzhou's arms. Just then, a team of palace guards came galloping on horses. The head eunuch held the imperial edict in his hands, his face cold and stern. The emperor's decree, Shen Jingzhou, received the edict. Shen Jingzhou, as if grasping a lifeline, scrambled and crawled to kneel down. He was fully convinced that the emperor had come to back him up. After all, he was the prince consort bestowed by the emperor through an arranged marriage. By the mandate of heaven, the emperor decrees. Shen Jingzhou lacks virtue and scorns the emperor's grace. Effective immediately, Shen Jingzhou is stripped of his position as Vice Minister of Personnel and deprived of his title as heir. The Duke's Fu has failed to maintain proper family discipline, is demoted to Earl, with salary forfeited for 3 years. By this decree. Once the edict was announced, like a bolt from the blue, it struck Shen Jingzhou, draining all colour from his face. No, impossible. How could His Majesty treat me this way? I'm the heir of the Duke's manor. The eunuch delivering the decree sneered, "Young Master Shen. Do you still not understand? His Majesty's affection for Princess Jiahua surpasses everything. You've offended the princess, and you still expect His Majesty to protect you. Thunder and rain, both are the Emperor's grace. The imperial favours can be given to you, and naturally can be taken back." The eunuch's words completely shattered Shen Jingzhou's last illusion. The official position he was so proud of was gone. His title was gone. Even his status as heir was gone. Now he was just a commoner with nothing. He suddenly turned his head and glared fiercely at Lin Jiaojiao. It was all because of this woman. If she hadn't been spouting nonsense, if she hadn't insisted on opposing the princess, how would he have ended up like this? Lin Jiaojiao was frightened by his vicious glare. "Zhulang Yu, why are you looking at me like that? We still have true love. To hell with true love." Shen Jingzhou finally broke down. He shoved Lin Jiaojiao away. "It is all you, you vicious jinx. Give me back my position as heir. Give me back my wealth and glory." Their once sworn true love, after losing the support of material wealth and power, didn't even last half an hour before shattering into pieces, just as they were blaming each other on the street. The main gate of the Duke's manor swung wide open with a loud bang. "This is the last time I'll walk out of this door." I changed into a red robe, wore the 9-dan pheasant crown, and the 12 swaying ornaments made crisp clinking sounds with my steps. Behind me was a grand imperial procession, an 8-jambera palanquin, palace maids in groups, and Qianyu guards clearing the way. Majestic and awe-inspiring, impossible to look directly at. Just like that, I stood on the high steps, looking down at the dishevelled Shen Jingzhou and Lin Jiaojiao. When Shen Jingzhou saw me, it was as if he saw his saviour. He scrambled and crawled toward the steps, crying with snot and tears streaming down. "Princess Jiahua, I was wrong. I was really wrong. I was bewitched by that temptress. Please forgive me. I'll never dare again." Lin Jiaojiao beside him felt as if she'd fallen into an icy abyss, and shrieked, "Shen Jingzhou, you're not a man, you coward. I looked at Shen Jingzhou's groveling appearance, without even a ripple in my heart, only deep disgust. Shen Jingzhou, don't you think it is too late to say these things now? This palace gave you dignity, but you didn't want it yourself. You kept saying this palace was feudal dregs. Then today, this palace will show you what true power is in this great Yan dynasty. I turned around and, surrounded by palace maids and eunuchs, boarded that magnificent carriage pulled by 4 white horses. The wheels rolled as the grand royal procession made its way toward my princess manor, which was 3 times larger and 10 times more luxurious than the Duke's mansion, conveying His Majesty's gracious decree. My voice came from inside the carriage, echoing along the main street. Princess Jiahua divorces her husband, a joyous occasion for all under heaven. The Princess Manor opens its central gates today, hosting banquets for 3 days. All citizens of the capital are welcome to come for a cup of celebratory wine. The streets instantly erupted. The common people cheered and jumped for joy, shouting "Long live the princess." And amid those cheers, the regretful cries of Shen Jingzhou and Lin Jiaojiao seemed so insignificant. They couldn't even make a ripple. They finally understood. What they thought was an evenly Jan-matched confrontation was merely a comedy I watched in my spare time. When this palace grows tired of watching, flipping the table requires only 1 sentence. My princess manor was much larger than that dilapidated Duke's mansion. Inside the manor were carved beams and painted rafters, living water channeled into lakes, and rockeries piled with exotic stones from Lake Tai. I reclined lazily on a white jade couch, toying with a luminous pearl from Persia presented as tribute. The sounds of strings and wind instruments filled the hall endlessly, with warm fragrance wafting through the air. 12 young talents of outstanding appearance and varied temperaments were playing zither and chess on both sides of the great hall. These retainers were all honored guests of my princess manor. That transmigrator girl named Lin Jiaojiao kept claiming she was an independent woman. But her sojourn called independence was nothing more than clinging to a married man to seek wealth and glory. She treated jealous rivalry as a means to show off her own charm. Utterly foolish. True female empowerment has never been about tearing yourself down over a man. It is like me, holding power over the realm, taking all the talented people in the world for my own use. I looked at the white enrobed young master playing the zither below the steps and raised my hand slightly. This performance of Guangling San is quite good. Reward him with 100 taels of gold. The white enrobed young master was overwhelmed with favor, kowtowing repeatedly in gratitude. The Imperial edict stripped Shen Jingzhou of his heir-apparent title, demoted the Duke's manor to an earl's manor, and docked 3 years of stipend. But that still wasn't the most fatal blow. Most fatal was that I took back the estate, removed all my dowry, took all the assets of the Duke's manor as compensation, and cut off all support to the Shen family. The Shen family, like duckweed losing its anchor, moved back to an old ancestral residence in the outskirts of the capital that had fallen into disrepair. Called an Earl's Manor, it was really just a dilapidated courtyard with 3 rows in and 3 rows out. The red paint on the courtyard walls had long since peeled off, and weeds grew waist-den high. The Duke, now he should be called the Earl, accustomed to fine clothes and rich food, fell ill on the spot from anger and took to his bed. The Countess looked at the empty rice jar and several rough maids who had sneaked away because they hadn't been paid. Sitting on the ground, wailing, they finally remembered that their Shen family had long been too poor to put food on the table. These past few years, what maintained their status as top nobility wasn't the Shen family's ancestral legacy, but rather the grace bestowed from the crumbs that leaked through my fingers as Princess Jiahua. Shen Jingzhou looked at the dilapidated home, looked at his parents' worried faces, and finally felt a trace of panic. But he turned to look at the injured Lin Jiaojiao, still trying to hypnotize himself. "It is okay, Jiaojiao. We still have each other. I'm the legitimate son of the Earl's manor. Even without the princess, I can still restore our family's honor." Lin Jiaojiao lay on the hard wooden plank bed, uncomfortable all over. She looked at this draughty room on all sides, and that modern person's pride in her heart finally began to waver. "Zhou Jianlang, I'm hungry. I want to drink some good soup to nourish myself," she said weakly. Shen Jingzhou gritted his teeth and turned to go to the kitchen. Half a shichen later, he brought over a bowl of coarse rice porridge with a few vegetable leaves floating in it. Jiao Jiao, the family. The family has no money to buy good ingredients anymore. Just make do with this for now. Lin Jiao Jiao's eyes widened, and she knocked over that bowl of coarse rice porridge with one swipe. Coarse rice? You want me to eat this kind of crude stuff? You're the young master of an earl's manor, and you can't even afford a decent meal. The scalding porridge splashed onto Shen Jingzhou's hand, scalding a red mark on it. Shen Jingzhou froze. He looked at the mess of porridge on the ground, then at the woman before him who had once said, "One life, one world, don't pair," but was now throwing a tantrum over not getting a good meal. The cruel reality known as poor couples grieve over everything finally slapped him hard across the face. The Countess, hearing the commotion, rushed into the woodshed. Seeing the coarse rice porridge that had been knocked over by Lin Jiao Jiao, her heart ached and she trembled. "You jinx, how dare you waste food?" The Countess had accumulated a bellyful of resentment and finally found an outlet. If not for this woman, she would still be in the capital's most prosperous duke's manor as a first-rank imperial lady. She stepped forward and, using both hands alternately, slapped Lin Jiao Jiao 2 resounding slaps across the face. "What do you think you are? How dare you look down on the Shen family's food? Let me tell you once, you've entered the Shen family's door. You must follow the Shen family's rules." Lin Jiao Jiao was stunned by the beating. In her logic, she should have been able to coax her mother Jen in Danlaw into complete submission with her wisdom that transcended the era. She covered her face and started shrieking. "What gives you the right to hit me? I'm an independent woman. I won't be oppressed by your feudalistic mother, Jan in Danlaw ways. Shen Jingzhou, you better control your mother." She looked toward Shen Jingzhou with hopeful expectation, hoping that this man who dared to divorce even a princess for her sake would protect her like he used to. But Shen Jingzhou didn't move. He only wearily rubbed his temples and turned away. "Jiao Jiao mother is right to scold you. Know that the family is in a difficult situation. Just say less." Lin Jiao Jiao was thunderstruck. "What did you say? You're telling me to endure this?" "You've changed, Shen Jingzhou. You weren't like this before. You said you would protect me forever." The Countess sneered, picked up the broom from the corner, and viciously struck Lin Jiao Jiao's back with it. "Protect you? You made your father Jan in Danlaw so angry he is bedridden. You've completely ruined your man's future, and you still have the nerve to ask for protection." The broom fell again and again, beating Lin Jiao Jiao until she begged for mercy repeatedly. She finally understood. Her So-Jan called independent woman status, after losing all economic resources and protection from the privileged class in this real feudal inner household, didn't even count as a gust of wind without my money to bail out Shen Jingzhou. Her proud and true love couldn't even withstand the test of a bowl of coarse rice porridge. Shen Jingzhou really couldn't stand the chaos at home anymore and decided to go out to borrow money. He changed into a set of old satin clothes that could still barely be presentable and went to a famous restaurant in the capital, wanting to find those friends who used to call each other brothers. In his view, although he had been stripped of his position as heir, he was still at least the legitimate son of the Earl's manor. He used to be proficient in poetry and literature, had friends all over the capital. Borrowing some silver should have been a piece of cake, right? However, when he pushed open the door to the private room at the tavern, the laughter inside came to an abrupt halt. Those young masters from aristocratic families who used to circle around him now looked at him like he was a joke. Well, if it isn't the great talent Shen who dared to reject even the eldest princess for some commoner woman. What is the matter? Didn't that woman's worlds and shaking talent conjure up mountains of gold and silver for your Shen family? Shen Jingzhou's face flushed red as he forced himself to speak through the humiliation. "Gentlemen brothers, Shen has fallen on hard times today and wishes to borrow 500 taels of silver to tide things over." 500 taels? A young master from a marquise's household burst into exaggerated laughter. "Shen Jingzhou, are you still half asleep or what? The only reason you could borrow money before was because we gave you some face out of respect for Princess Jiao Hua. Now, you're not only no longer the princess's consort, you've even offended the royal family. Who would dare lend you money? Who would dare associate with you?" The young master from the Marquise's household stepped forward and patted Shen Jingzhou's shoulder. You think your talent is worth something? You think people truly respect you? Without the princess as your big tree to lean on? You don't even deserve to step through this tavern's door. Please leave. Shen Jingzhou was mercilessly thrown out by the servants and slumped down on the steps. The common people around him pointed and whispered, their mocking laughter like bone-chilling wind. Only at this moment did Shen Jingzhou finally wake up completely. All his pride, his talent, his connections, everything existed only by virtue of his title as Prince Consort to Princess Jiahua. Without me, in this capital city with its strict hierarchy, he could barely take a step forward. He thought he was a warrior resisting imperial power for true love. Turns out, in others' eyes, he was just an idiot who threw away a watermelon to pick up a sesame seed. He stumbled back to that dilapidated earl's mansion. As soon as he entered, he heard Lin Jiaojiao still arguing with the countess. Shen Jingzhou's eyes instantly turned red. He rushed into the room and roughly dragged Lin Jiaojiao aside. It is all you, you jinx. Your mouth full of nonsense has ruined my entire life. Give me back my duke's mansion, give me back my future. That night, the dilapidated earl's mansion echoed with the sounds of the two blaming and beating each other, that Sojian called true love transcending time, and space finally turned into a farce of mutual accusations. In the princess's mansion, he lazily listened to the secret guard's report. After hearing about the farce at the Shen family, I didn't even have the interest to mock them, because it was too boring. Withdraw the secret guards, from now on. There is no need to report on the Shen family's affairs. I waved my hand at Hongshu. They no longer deserve to waste this palace's energy. When spring flowers bloomed, I held a grand spring banquet at the princess's mansion. This time, no one dared to ruin my mood. The most powerful nobles, the most talented scholars, and the most handsome young elites in the capital all consider it an honor to receive my invitation. I sit in the high seat of honor, draped in a shawl embroidered with golden threads depicting clouds and phoenixes. On my left, the newly appointed top scholar is reciting for me his newly written rhapsody, every word a pearl. On my right, the capital's finest musician is peeling lychees freshly delivered from Lingnan for me, as the most noble and wealthiest princess of the great Yan dynasty. As long as I don't commit treason, I am the freest and most powerful woman in this great Yan. I don't need to compete with other women for a man's attention. This is what it truly means to control one's own life. This is the confidence that imperial power grants me, that woman called Lin Jiaojiao thinks that with a few slogans, she can dominate this world. She doesn't understand at all that in the face of absolute power and status, all baseless clamoring is nothing but laughable behavior. I lift a cup of Western region grape wine, gazing at the garden full of spring scenery, and slightly curl the corners of my lips to this wonderful spring. Everyone below raises their cups in unison, hailing long live the princess. 3 years later, Father Emperor's 60th birthday, an unprecedented grand hunting ceremony is held at the Imperial Shanglin Garden. All the imperial relatives and civil and military officials of the Great Yan dynasty are invited to the banquet. The salary penalty period has passed, and the Shen family actually managed to pull through. Shen Jingzhou inherited the lowest den-ranking earl title and was fortunate enough to receive a seat at the outermost edge. So far away he couldn't even see the viewing stands clearly. He wore slightly worn court attire, sitting in the cold wind, watching the bustling prosperity of the inner field with its clinking glasses and fragrant hair and clothing. That was a world he could once reach with just a stretch of his hand, even taking it for granted. And now he didn't even have the qualification to approach the inner platform. Look, it is Princess Jiahua's phoenix carriage. An exclamation burst out from the crowd. Shen Jingzhou trembled all over, instinctively standing on his tiptoes, looking forward over the sea of people. I sat in an open golden carriage pulled by 8 pure white, flawless Fagana horses, slowly entering the very center of the entire venue. I wore dark red 9 chapter ceremonial robes embroidered with gold thread and a dazzling 12 tier swaying hairpiece on my head. My appearance was even more radiant and dignified than 3 years ago. That was the glow nurtured by absolute power and freedom, by my side, There were no ridiculous household scheming, nor the humbleness of compromising to please men. On my left was the current dynasty's youngest and most promising minister of the Court of Judicial Review, slightly bowing his head, respectfully listening to me recite poetry. On my right was the renowned manhwa scholar, smiling warmly as he filled my cup with grape wine tributed from the western regions. Wherever I passed, the masses cheered. Shen stared at me blankly. He watched me chatting and laughing with those men standing at the pinnacle of power. He watched me take a seat beside the emperor, in a position second only to the crown prince, receiving the most honorable respect in all the land. In that moment, a tremendous sense of disparity, more unbearable than death, instantly shattered Shen Jingzhou's last psychological defense. He finally saw himself clearly. He thought he was rebelling against authority for love. But in reality, he was just a flea parasitizing under a phoenix's wings, absurdly trying to mock the phoenix for flying too high. Without my wings, he was inferior to even the most ordinary guard in this Shanglan garden. Princess. Shen Jingzhou's lips trembled violently, tears bursting from his eyes, filled with remorse and regret. He instinctively stepped forward, wanting to call out my name. Clang! 2 cold Imperial halberds crossed in front of his chest, blocking him. Those in the lowest seats must not disturb His Majesty. Get back. The guard looked at him like looking at an ignorant ant. Shen Jingzhou collapsed dejectedly onto the cold seat, covered his face, and let out suppressed and desperate sobs. The crying was too soft, unable to drown out even a whisper of wind in Shanglan Garden, and I, seated high upon the white jade platform, raised that cup of amber, tan-coloured wine. My gaze swept over the tens of thousands of subjects below, swept over the cloudless sky of Great Yan. I didn't even glance at that corner in the outermost area, because I simply didn't care where he was, much less care about what kind of miserable life Lin Jiao, who could only plagiarize a few ancient poems, was living in the back residence. The highest realm of dimensional reduction strike has never been personally pressing your enemy into the mud with your own hands, but rather that you still remain high above, shining brilliantly. While those who tried to provoke you and disgust you can only spend year after year looking up at your forever unreachable back in the mediocrity and regret they created for themselves, until they are completely forgotten in the dust of history. My life as Princess Jiahua was born to burn freely at the peak of power. As for the mayflies below, they're not worthy of entering this palace's sight. Wow, girls. Let's get real for a second. After finishing that final scene where the princess looks down on all beings from the high platform, not even bothering to give her ex-husband a glance, I really sat in silence before my computer for a long time. Then got goosebumps all over my body. Reading this story made me feel absolutely exhilarated throughout. So satisfying. This is definitely not just an ordinary slapping feel-good story. It is practically a brutally honest yet extremely clear-headed modern women's hardcore survival guide. Tonight, Senior Elena really wants to hold your hands and thoroughly break down the several deadly truths hidden in this story. Whether you are feeling lost on campus right now, fighting hard in the workplace, or struggling in a relationship that is draining you, I hope you can engrave the following words into your DNA. The first truth: true power is built on competence. Let's look at the character Lin Jiao. She embodies a very typical modern giant baby syndrome, mistaking slogans for real ability, mistaking arrogance for independence. Her mouth is full of every own is equal, but what are her actual actions? Attempting to take shortcuts by destroying someone else's marriage. In real life, don't we occasionally encounter people like this too? Or in certain moments, do we ourselves also fall into this kind of illusion, thinking that reposting a few woke captions on social media and cursing out a few scumbags makes us the boss babe? Me queen's talk is cheap. Why does the Princess Royal dare to be so arrogant? Because behind her is imperial power, a dowry of real gold and silver, the confidence to slap the entire Duke's household account books in someone's face. Truly independent women never rely on shouting slogans and putting down other women to show themselves off, but rather possess the real skills to establish themselves. You go get certifications, learn a language, do your work to perfection, go make money. These tangible, concrete abilities are what truly form the moat protecting your life. The second truth, stop the build. A man workshop Shen as a character really stepped on countless girls' landmines. He ate rice the princess bought, paved his way with the princess's money, and relied on the princess's resources to play the refined scholar in the capital. And what happened? He turned around and despised the princess for her vulgar money smell, thinking he had a noble soul, and even accused his legal wife of being vicious for the sake of his new lover. Dear, kind-hearted girls, if in your relationships you encounter that type of man who takes for granted all the benefits you bring him, while also mentally suppressing and belittling you, please immediately, right now, without hesitation, just like the princess, flip the table, kick him out. Many girls have this savior complex, always thinking, as long as I treat him well enough, someday he'll be grateful to me. Wake up, girl. Why did Shen Jingzhou change his heart? Because Lin Jiaojiao is weak and delicate, which greatly satisfied his pathetic self-esteem. So stop investing in potential, your youth, your money, your precious emotions, invest them all in yourself. The third truth, walk. Away money is your ultimate shield. Having the financial confidence to flip the table at any time. I love the part where the princess divorced her husband so much. Why could she be so badass? Why could she not only divorce him, but also pack up the in-laws and the scumbag together and throw them out on the street without leaving them a single needle? Because in modern terms, this is called having walk, away money. When you have enough financial power and resources, you don't need to put up with shitty people and shitty situations just to survive. Your boss is feeding you empty promises and gaslighting you with PUA tactics. You can quit in style. Your boyfriend betrays you and still thinks he can control you. You can straight up change the locks and tell him to fuck off. Money and power in the hands of the eldest princess aren't for showing off. They're tools for defending your dignity, girls. Don't think talking about money is vulgar. In this world, there is nothing more solid than building your career, saving money, and climbing up the social ladder. Your bank account balance is the toughest armor you have when facing this fucked up world. The final takeaway. The opposite of love is indifference. The opposite of love is indifference. At the end of the story, that scene at the Shanglin Garden hunting ceremony was truly a stroke of genius. Many readers might think if the eldest princess had stopped her carriage at that moment, walked up to Shen Jingzhou and mocked him harshly, wouldn't that be more satisfying? No, no, no. If she had mocked him, it would mean she still had hatred in her heart, that she still cared. What did the eldest princess do? She held her fine wine, listened to the Minister of Justice's poetry, watched the manhwa scholars smile, and didn't spare even a corner of her eye for that man crying his heart out in the mud. Because he wasn't worth it, sisters. Sometimes when we get hurt, we fall into deep internal turmoil, always thinking about how to get revenge. But the Princess Royal showed us the ultimate form of dimensional reduction strike. You are totally irrelevant to my life now. Take all the time you spend on internal turmoil, hatred, and stalking that scumbag's social media, and use it all to build your career. Become more beautiful, and see a bigger world. When you stand high enough and shine bright enough, those stones that once tripped you will have long been completely forgotten in the dust beneath your feet. Me gorgeous besties, no matter what kind of life script you are holding right now, remember the Princess Royal's hardcore rule. Never waste energy on internal struggles. Never engage in charity dating. Hold the compass of destiny firmly in your own hands. Go live as the supreme, shining, absolute leading lady in your own life. May we all be clear-headed, independent, and have both money and love. Cheers to you, my queens.